him. They make the trade for DJ Moore, and he changes that quick.
Meanwhile, set up a screen to Herbert. Gets a block, makes a cut, breaks a tackle. Herbert across the 25 and a first down for the Bears. How do the Bears respond? It's Fields on the move. First read not there, fires, and that is caught. That's a strike to Moon. Blitz coming. Fields spins away on his feet, looking to throw. Now we'll tuck it and run. Oh, good move and a first. Made a lot of people miss. More importantly, picked up the first down. Here's Foreman right off the gut. Deontay Foreman breaking tackles, and he's got a big run.
As their two-man around him, they make the
Fields, quick drop throw, Moore in stride, breaks another tackle, and he's inside the 10. And everyone trying to bring him down.
pressure on his own.
Third and long, pressure on Fields, he's in trouble. Gets out of one play, gets out of carry. Fields making moves up to the 20.
Timeout in their pocket.
Love looking in trouble, and he's decked by N'Gakwe. Yannick N'Gakwe has his first Bears sack.
He's the win. Bears
going quicker here. They give it to Johnson again. He got a little spark. Oh, what a shoulder and a first down. Roshan Jones. Blitz coming from Green Bay. Fields loads up to an end zone. That's Mooney. He's got it. Touchdown, Chicago. Johnson, head down, in for the touchdown to the rookie.
Welcome to another fun-filled Monday edition of Second City Sports. We're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago, along with Miss McKim McGee, which is she. I am Sidney Brown. Hey, that's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow my Keenan McGee on the Twitter, X, and Keenan McGee on the IG.
Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Make sure you follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to our podcast at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including that iHeartRadio app. And make sure you follow War Media on all social media platforms at WARR Media on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We are unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinions during our 2-hour extravaganza, we call it Sports Talk Radio Show. You can hit us up in the comment section by going to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. But if you decide to troll and or do something silly, dumb, or stupid, I've given Lakina full power to give your fools the Green Bay Packer boot.
Toodles.
But before we begin, we must remind you that you can also catch Sports Zone Chicago now available on Roku TV. That's right. So celebrate the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV. If you already have a Roku television, just tap on the sports folder and download that Sports Zone Chicago app. If you don't have a Roku television, but you have some handheld devices laying around, iPhone, iPad, iTouch, your Android, your personal PC, your Chromebook like I'm using right now, just head over to the Google Play Store, download that Roku TV app, and access Sports Zone Chicago through that avenue. So no more excuses. Celebrate with the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Live and on demand.
Anytime, anywhere.
And you know we will provide.
Yes. And
a little
yes,
bit off today.
Yeah, well, I mean, after
Just
what
this
happened
gets
yesterday.
office, good grief.
After everything that happened yesterday, of course, we will recap though at the highlights you saw. The few highlights were from, of course, the big Fox Network who televised the game yesterday with Greg Olson and Kevin Burkhardt on the call there, and of course, we'll also we'll talk the rest of the NFL Week 1 slate as well. Some very interesting, surprising performances, and of course, the return of studs and duds. Of course, baseball, U.S. Open recap, and a whole lot more. So, Sid, let's talk about the Bears for the next 10 minutes. Yay.
What the hell is that, Lakina? And I'll ask our Sports Zone Chicago listeners and viewers that on Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. What the hell was that yesterday? You barely put up 20 points. Your first 7 possessions, listen to this, Lakina. 2 field goals, 2 turnovers, and 3 punts. Let me repeat that one more again, as you young folks would say. Your first 7 possessions included 2 field goals, 2 turnovers, and 3 punts. And you had 4 to 5 months to prepare for this. This was inexcusable, Lakina. I know that the players ultimately get the blame when they lose and they get the credit when they win. But this was all on the coaching staff yesterday, Lakina. It starts from head coach Matt Eberflus on down, from him to offensive coordinator Luke Getsy. I know he's in year 2 of his system. I'm talking about Luke Getsy, but if you listen to Justin Fields' presser yesterday following the game, he said that was the game plan. Did you notice anything, Lakina, that watching that yesterday? Did you ever remember Fields taking a deep shot down the field?
Nope,
yes or no?
That I know of. Not. Nope. Never,
okay.
I've never heard him say that. Nope.
Now, what that tells me is that Justin Fields basically told on the coaching staff and said that wherever the game plan that was for yesterday, that was garbage. Now, we said on Friday that Green Bay does have a good defense, and you saw that yesterday. And DJ Moore only had 2 catches for 20-something yards, I believe it was. He wasn't in the game plan. And I don't know about you, Lakina, but I usually pay attention to halftime adjustments. Did you see any that were made yesterday? Because I didn't. Maybe you saw something that I did.
Well, I mean, it's just like, good grief. I mean, I know everyone was surprised. I mean, everyone had like a spring in their stuff. Oh, this is going to be a new era. There were some comments that were made. I think it was, what was it? Jalen Johnson made the comment where, oh, it's new era. We're going to kick the Packers' butts. And even the Bears social media, page, if you saw, oh, it's a new era. Wait, what? Mm-hmm. What? You haven't done anything yet. Why would you even say such a thing? And Johnson's comments, why the hell would he even say that? And I'm sure, and I think Jair Alexander even said too, and we saw his presser on the Green Bay side. I mean, they felt kind of disrespected that they were kind of thought, oh well, Aaron Rodgers is gone, it's gonna be easy. Jordan Love's not gonna do anything, and this and that. Well, I mean, look, Jordan Love actually wasn't too bad. I mean, 50 for 27, 3 touchdown passes, and and he only was sacked once. Let me say that again. He was only sacked once, whereas Fields was sacked, 4 times, 4 or 5 times? No, that O-line is not very good. And look, you saw a little bit of flashes, by the time they had that touchdown pass, right at the end of the third quarter, it really didn't mean anything. So, it's just like, good Lord, Aaron Jones, as he usually does, it his thing, kind of brought the game over. Of course, he tweaked his hamstring, so they, the game was already out of hand by then, so it really didn't. That game, that score didn't really matter. Of course, he did have a touchdown catch and a rushing touchdown, but AJ Dillon was able to do his thing. So I'm astounded by this. Like maybe less talky and more actually playing. And I don't want to hear. And I'm like what Rex Ryan said on Get Up this morning. You had 4 or 5 months to prepare. It's not like you guys just, had 2 or 3 weeks. You had 4 or 5 months. So you don't want to make overreact too much because it's only been 1 game, but I'm seeing sort of the same old, and I don't like it.
You're listening to Second City Sports on the Monday edition. We're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid, that's Lakina, as we review the Bears' 38-20 loss to the Green Bay Packers on the lakefront from yesterday. Shout out to our guy, Jason Palmer. He was on Sean and Maya in the morning this morning discussing his thoughts. What's Up, Cuz is on tonight, live at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time right here on Sports Zone Chicago, so stay tuned for that. Shout out to him and Miss Patty Lauer on our text line here. So keep those comments coming. Lakina, I want to go to the offense. They started out the first drive of the game okay. Khalil Herbert getting some touches with some screen passes here and there. So, okay, this Bears team is starting to look a little bit different. But as the game went along, Justin Fields, in my opinion, didn't have enough time to go through his progressions. We talked about this all preseason, Lakina. And give Green Bay defense credit because their secondary had DJ Moore and Darnell Mooney on lock yesterday. I know Darnell Mooney scored that touchdown by the end of the third quarter to cut the deficit to 10 points at the time. But there was no deep shots for Justin Fields to throw to yesterday. And that's why DJ Moore is out the game. But I blame Luke Getsy for this and Matt Eberflus for this at halftime. You should have had DJ Moore go had him in motion so he can get him more wide open to get the ball. Because what did we say during the preseason, Lakina? DJ Moore and Justin Fields was going to be a nice tandem. We rarely saw that yesterday. And I thought that Greg Olson on Fox Sports broadcast yesterday, he pointed out that when Roshan Johnson, he was part of that drive that got the Bears back in that game with that Darnell Mooney touchdown. Why didn't they go back to him on the next series?
Yeah, I mean, he was the one that kind of look that game. That score would have been a whole lot worse if not for Rashawn Johnson. Of course, he's the rookie. I think 7th round rookie, I believe, and he was the one that kind of like gave the Bears that little bit of extra oomph in that offense. But like I said, the game was already like out of hand by then. So I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, okay, he looks really good. I mean, hopefully they use him more. I should say, either for me to say, but yeah, I mean, it's just like I said, I've seen the same old stuff. I saw Jan Goulier, he got his 1 sack, yay, good for him. But you didn't hear his name that much. Jack Sanborn, I mean, he had like about 4 tackles, 2 solo tackles, but you didn't hear his name a lot. Tremaine Edmonds, he got his share of tackles, a couple of tackles for loss, but you didn't hear his name a lot. And it's just one of those things where you're just like, okay, you thought there's supposed to be this new big era. Well, I'm sorry. I just saw the same old. I mean, not taking a chance with a deep guy downfield. He wasn't, I don't know, that drop that Fields had that went to end up being a touchdown on the other side. That was just inexcusable on his part. I mean, this is your third or fourth year Fields. I mean, you're not supposed to make those type of mistakes. So I'm just like, you know what? I know some people will say are shocked by, oh my God, the Packers kicked the Bears' butts again. Well, I'm not. I mean, look, like I said, when we did our picks, we didn't do our girl Christine Mann, the cut from KXRB. We didn't do very well. So, I was just not, but I'm just like, no interceptions. You only sacked Love once. Love looked like Aaron Rodgers. I'm not saying he is going to be Aaron Rodgers, but he looked like Aaron Rodgers out there. So I don't know. I don't know what else. I don't know what to say. I just don't know. I'm at loss for words.
I was thinking about this morning before we went on the air today, Lakina. A couple more points before we break for the bottom of the hour. Remember we were talking about during the preseason, Lakina, that second game against the Indianapolis Colts. Matt Eberflus sat all his starters, including his offensive starters. What did I tell you at the time? And shout out to, I believe, the Athletic that I read this morning that did Matt Eberflus take it easy? I'm just paraphrasing it. Did Matt Eberflus take it easy on these guys during the training camp? It looks like the answer was yes yesterday after that horrible performance. Remember what I told you at the time? We said this at the time. After that second preseason game at Indianapolis, where all the starters did not see any action. We said this. We said if they come out horrible to start the year, everybody's going to point to that second preseason game, which those starters didn't play. The Bears had a chance to change the narrative yesterday, and they didn't.
And you look at next this Sunday's game coming up against Tampa Bay. That game doesn't look easy now. That's gonna be easy win for the Bears. The Bears will probably be like 1-1 at worst. But that game doesn't look doesn't look easy now. After what they did yesterday, we'll talk that after the break. But and they have the Chiefs after that, so they could very well end up starting 0-3. I'm not gonna say they're gonna be out of it, but like you said, I mean, they didn't change a lot of people's minds. People were telling this team, like, oh, this could be the team that the Bears could go to a new level and this and that. Well, it's the same old.
Yeah, one other key stat before we break. On third down, the Bears 3 of 13. The Packers 9 of 16.
9 of 16, yep.
Let me repeat again. The Packers 9 of 16. The Bears 3 of 13 on third down. That's all you need to know.
And with that, we're going to take a really quick break. Of course, we're going to have recap the rest of week 1, including some surprises and a thrashing on the Sunday nighter. Well, I was tuned. I don't know about you, Steph. I was tuned out of that Cowboys Giants game.
It was over at halftime.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, we'll have our studs and does. So yeah, please, folks, please feel free to comment if you got your own studs and does. We want you guys to be involved. So yeah,
we'll take your comments as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So feel free, of course. Lakina McGee, Cindy Brown, Second City Sports on Sports of Chicago. The rest of week 1 recap coming up right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too.
These new socks? They can be a real lifesaver.
And I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to Second Seed Sports on Sports on Chicago. My name is Lakina McGee. You can follow me at Lakina McGee on the Twitter, X, and Lakina and the IG.
I'm Sid the Kid. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80. We have less than 85 minutes left for this extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show. If you want to hit us up in the comments section, you can do so by going to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you.
All right, sis. So where do you want to go to first? So we have some very interesting results here from week one of the NFL slates.
Let's go down to hot Atlanta, Georgia, where the Atlanta Falcons defeated their division rivals in the NFC South, the Carolina Panthers, in the debut of Bryce Young of the Carolina Panthers, 24-10. Bryce Young, 146 yards, a touchdown, and 2 interceptions. Mr. Tyler Aguilar for the Atlanta Falcons, 15 carries, 75 yards, 2 touchdowns. 30-year tight end Kyle Pitts out of Pittsburgh for Atlanta, 2 catches for 44 yards.
Yeah, really good show. It actually ended up being a very entertaining game, oddly enough. But of
I
course,
was watching that Sunday live via this computer screen.
Yeah, it was tied. Yeah, it was tied going into the fourth quarter. But of course, the Falcons were too much for them. Tyler Algier, who was a rookie, he had 2 rushing touchdowns, including I think one that kind of put the game away. So not a like I said, a good showing by Bryce Young. He had 2 interceptions. threw for 146 yards and a touchdown. This actually snaps a 5-game losing streak in season openers for Atlanta, which is the longest active streak, the longest streak in the franchise history. So they broke that mold. So some people are saying that Atlanta could be a surprise this year. So this is a good start in division. So we'll see.
Yeah, the Atlanta Falcons, the last time they won an opening game was 2017. That was the last time that franchise made the playoffs. So we'll see what happens with those Dirty Birds going forward. Let's go to Cleveland, Ohio, where the Cleveland Browns destroyed the Cincinnati Bengals in the Battle of Ohio 24-3. Deshaun Watson for Cleveland, 154 yards, a touchdown in interception. Nick Chubb, 18 carries, 106 yards for the Browns. And for the wide receivers, Elijah Moore had 3 catches for 43 yards. Lakina, I did get a chance to catch some of this game live via NFL Red Zone yesterday. It was ugly to start. I did pick Cleveland to win this game on Friday when we did our picks. I didn't think it was going to be this bad, but call me crazy, Lakina. But Joe Burrow, he didn't look that hot. But you cannot just blame just him. But there was no life in that Cincinnati Bengals offense. Yes, the weather played a part in it because it had steady rain throughout the game. But It looks like Cleveland was more motivated and they were more prepared.
Yeah, and they Burrow's now 1-5 is his career against the Browns. So they, at least at this point in his career, the Browns have his number. I mean, he had 82 pass yards, which is a career low for him. It's actually the first time in his career he threw under 100 yards in a game. So that's a little bit of crazy stuff there. Could it be maybe because he didn't play during the preseason because of the foot injury, so maybe that played a little bit of a part, but who knows? But look, you gotta give Cleveland credit. I mean, they bum rushed him, and look, they caused a couple of turnovers, and it was just one of those things where you just like, I think Myles Garrett had a couple had a sack that it basically ended any chance of the Bengals making a comeback. So yeah, a good solid effort for the Browns all around.
Yes, indeed. Let's travel to Indianapolis, Indiana, and Lucas Oil Stadium, where the Indianapolis Colts dropped their home opener to the division rival, the Jacksonville Jaguars, 31-21. For Trevor Lawrence for the Jaguars, 241 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. Travis Etienne Jr. for the Jaguars, 18 carries, 77 yards in the go-ahead touchdown in the fourth quarter. Calvin really made his return to the NFL. He had 8 catches for 101 yards and a touchdown. Lakina, I did watch the majority of this game via this computer screen. I thought Jacksonville came out more motivated early to start the game, but the Colts, they put up a fight. Anthony Richardson, he wasn't bad in his debut. He had a couple of turnovers, and he did look good in some instances. He still has a long way to go. If Jonathan Taylor, their star running back, was in the lineup, maybe they would have pulled out the upset. But I think Anthony Richardson is going to be a player when this is all said and done.
Yeah, he had a couple of little hiccups here and there. He was sacked 4 times, but he more than held his own. He had a touchdown pass and a rushing touchdown. But look, I mean, Jacksonville, they're no longer the Hunters anymore. They're not a hunted. So, and I think they're starting to realize that, okay, wait a minute, we can't just sleepwalk through our division rivals. I mean, the Colts got some good players, so they're going to be a fit for some teams. I don't think they're going to win a lot, but. Yeah, they are going to be a fit. But yeah, look, the Jazz did what they needed to do. I mean, they were down the 4th quarter. They were able to just enough to win that game. They scored 14 points, especially that go-ahead TD from ATN. So that was a really, look, you did what you're supposed to. Good teams, find a way to get out of the holes that they make for themselves. So you got to give the Jags credit for that.
Couple of interesting plays from that game yesterday. One, did you catch that touchdown pass by Zay Jones of the Jaguars? That was one of the best catches of the day. And number 2, DeForest Buckner. He picked up that fumble for the touchdown. I forgot who wears number 4 for the Jaguars. Dude, I know the whistle didn't blow yet, but keep your eye on the ball. Keep both hands on the ball. If you do that, the Colts are the one that scored that touchdown to get back in the game. I'm just saying. You got to play to the whistle. And shout out to Jonathan Vilma on the broadcast yesterday. He called it out right away. The whistle did not blow. Thank goodness that if you're a Colts fan, DeForest Buckner paid attention. One of the other defenders slapped the ball out of the Jacksonville Jaguars receiver's hands. DeForest Buckner picked it up and ran it in for a touchdown. That's how Indianapolis got back in the game.
I'm trying to think, was that really that dropped that, and then we didn't hang on to it. And look, they always say you play until the whistle blows. So yeah, that was look. DeForest Buckner's been around for a while. So I think I'm sure they told him that. So look, there was a nice showing there. But yeah, I mean, look, it actually ended up being a very entertaining game, which could have easily been a one-sided victory for the Jags. They had to earn that one.
Let's go to Minneapolis, Minnesota, where the shocker of the day took place. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who they will host the Chicago Bears next week in their home opener. The Buccaneers defeated the Minnesota Vikings on the road by the score of 2017. Kirk Cousins for the Vikings, 344 yards, 2 touchdowns and an interception. For Tampa Bay, Mr. Rashad White, 17 carries for 39 yards. Justin Jefferson for the Vikings, 9 catches for 150 yards. Mike Evans, no, not the actor from Good Times. Mike Evans, the receiver from Tampa Bay, he had 2 touchdown catches. Even though he didn't have the contract extension yesterday, he made sure that he told everybody who was watching and listening that his value is going up. He made a difference when that Buccaneers offense yesterday in that second half.
Yeah, I'll get to that, and also to Justin Jefferson. This is his 9th career game with 150 plus receiving yards. That's the most by any player before turning 25 in NFL history. So I gotta give him a shout, despite that loss. But yeah, you got to give the defense for Tampa credit. I don't think anybody thought that this was going to be. Look, we had this game here in Chicago on CBS, and it was kind of definitely shocking. I know that Christian Edson had an interception. Of course, that was, the old, Kirk Cousins interception. You're going to guarantee at least one. So, whoever good defense there. But yeah, I mean, they struggle a lot on offense. I'm talking about Minnesota. They had 344 receiving yards, but only 41 rushing yards. Look, I know Dalvin Cook isn't there anymore. And Alexander Mattison, who, had 34 of those yards, but he could have gotten the ball more. He only had 11 carries.
Mm-hmm.
But look, give the Bucs credit. I mean, look, they did what they need to do on the defensive side, and look, some people were saying that they could be a sleeper in the NFC South. So, but yeah, what a nice win for them yesterday.
Real quick, what did you think about Matt Ryan's performance, Matty Ice's performances as he made his debut on CBS yesterday?
I thought it was very solid. I'll give him a solid B+. Yeah, I mean, I think he and Tiki, Barber, and also Andrew Cameron, I think they all play off well for each other. Andrew kind of kept it all going. He kind of was able to. I know some people don't like 3-man boosts, but I think, look, if you find the right combination of 3 guys, you can make it work. And I think yesterday, they showed that this could be a good team this year.
Let's head down to New Orleans as this New Orleans Saints.
One of my favorite games of the day.
Yes. Oh, it was ugly for a while, but that's why when you play the Tennessee Titans. The New Orleans Saints are going to beat the Tennessee Titans 16-15. Derek Carr, 305 yards, a touchdown and an interception in his New Orleans Saints debut. Derrick Henry for the Titans had 15 carries for 63 yards. And Chris Olive from New Orleans, their star wide receiver, 8 catches for 112 yards.
That's your guy from Ohio State. But look, that was a very ugly game because Ryan Tannehill had 3 interceptions. So I was
including that. Did you see that one wide receiver reverse? I think they that play that they tried down the sideline in that fourth quarter. He missed the tight end. He was open down the right sideline. If Tannehill would have hit him, I forgot who that player was. If Tannehill would have hit him, the Titans would have won the game.
Yeah, they would have set up a game-winning field goal there, but of course, Tannehill overshot him. So unfortunately, that's what that's kind of what happens sometimes. Now the defense did have 4 sacks. They did sack Carr 4 times, but they weren't able to force any turnover. So that really didn't help them. I know that Amari Hooker did have an interception early on. Those 3 interceptions by Tannehill were just brutal. I think that second one to Lattimore was actually pretty bad. So. I don't know what happened there, but yeah, it was very ugly from jump. But the ending was okay. But yeah, that was brutal. But look, that's what happens when you play the Titans, I guess.
Yep. Let's go over to the Steel City where the Pittsburgh Steelers dropped their home opener to the San Francisco 49ers, 37. Kenny Pickett for the Steelers, 232 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Christian McCaffrey for the 49ers, 22 carries, 152 yards, and 1 heck of a touchdown score. And Brandon Ayuk for the 49ers had 8 catches, 129 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, this is another surprising score. You thought that it was going to be a little bit closer since, of course, San Fran going, cross country, playing a new game. But look, Brock Purdy kind of picked up where he left off last year. I mean, 2 touchdown passes. Brandon Ayuk, if you had him on your fantasy team, look, I'm sure you had a nice show yesterday. 129 yards and 2 touchdowns. Christian McCaffrey, another guy, 152 yards and a touchdown. I mean, just a great showing by the 49ers. And look, I mean, they couldn't get it going on offense for the Steelers. I mean, look, Pickett was sacked 5 times, and Najee Harris didn't get the ball a lot. So Allen Robinson, I know he had 64 yards and only 5 catches. So Yeah, I mean, look, that was definitely your typical grinded out game for the 49ers. So, I mean, look, I guess Purdy's elbow is doing just fine.
Yeah, and so are the 49ers overall. Let's head over next to our nation's capital, where the new ownership group for the Washington Commanders, which includes basketball Hall of Famer Magic Johnson, they had a great day yesterday because they watched their Commanders defeat the Arizona Cardinals by the score of 2016. Sam Howell for the Commanders, 202 yards, 1 touchdown and an interception. James Conner for the Arizona Cardinals, 14 carries for 62 yards. But it was Curtis Samuel for the Commanders, 5 catches for 54 yards.
Yeah, that was an ugly game too. I mean, Arizona had the lead for a little bit, and you thought, okay, Arizona's in tank mode. And you look at Josh Dobbs, threw a couple of air throws that you thought, okay, yeah, they're definitely tanking. So, but look, I mean, Washington wasn't pretty, but it was just enough for them to win that game. And yeah, I had this game a little bit on the computer, but yeah, it was pretty bad. But But look, you can tell, like I said, look, you can tell there's actually, new excitement, fresh energy with the new ownership group. I mean, Josh Harris, who's the primary owner, of course, we talked about Magic being one of the secondary owners. So you can kind of tell us the new fresh energy there down there in DC. So yeah, well, we'll see if they can look, some people have the Commanders perhaps maybe making the wild card. So they're off to a pretty good start.
Yeah, I think their home opening yesterday was his first sellout in a long time.
Like almost 20 years, I think.
Somewhere around in there, yes.
Give or take, yeah. So, yeah, so, but yeah, look, they just have to win that game. Staying in that area, we'll look for out to Baltimore. Shout out to our buddies Real Diaz, who had the call of this game for CBS. 25-9 for as the Ravens beat the Texans. Looks like it's J.K. Dobbins like he's gonna be out for the year after tearing his Achilles.
Yeah, that stinks.
That stinks. But Lamar Jackson, not the prettiest showing. Of course, threw for 169 yards, rushed for 38 yards. Gus Edwards after kind of picked up the slack after Dobbins got hurt, and the defense sacked C.J. Stroud. Not an okay debut, 250 to 42 yards, but he was sacked 5 times. So that O-line was just brutal in Houston, but. Again, not pretty, but they did just enough to make that game. Just enough to win that game, I should say. Sorry.
I said this on Friday when we did our picks with Christine Manica that this was going to be C.J. Stroud's welcome to the NFL moment. I actually thought he did okay, for a rookie. I know that Houston is going to develop the offense as the season goes along. Of course, you have Damian Pierce. They're now their second-year running back. You have Nico Collins, who had 6 catches for 80 yards yesterday. I think he's going to be a nice one when it's all said and done. But it's all about that defense right now for the Texans. A new head coach and former player, DeMeco Ryans, he has a lot of work to do. He knows that. But I didn't think the Texans did all that bad yesterday. Remember, the Ravens only scored 18 of their 25 points in the second half. The Texans kept it very close, but just like some of the other young teams before, you had to go through these things to learn your lesson to hopefully execute on those mistakes when you get those opportunities. So that's what the Houston Texans are going through right now.
Yeah, Zay Flowers, of course, working from Boston College, has 78 yards and 9 catches. So nice little debut for him. And look, if you saw the post afterwards, look, John Harbaugh, he'll be the first to tell you, look, it wasn't pretty, but look, they just have to win, and you'll take it. So one of these kind of grinding out, ugly wins, as they say. And plus, weather will also play a little bit of a factor too. So I think that's a fun, but not bad, pretty good if you're the Ravens, you'll take it.
You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid Lakina here with you as we're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago as we review week 1 from yesterday's action from around the NFL list. Now head over to the late games. We'll go to Denver, Colorado, where the Denver Broncos in the home debut of new head coach Sean Payton, they come up 1 point short as the Las Vegas Raiders defeat the Denver Broncos 17-16. Jimmy Garoppolo for the Raiders, 200 yards exactly passing yards, 2 touchdowns and interceptions, and 1 interception, I should say. Javonte Williams for Denver, 13 carries, 52 yards. But Jacoby Myers for the Raiders was the man of the hour. Yes. 9 catches, 81 yards, and 2 touchdowns, including the game winner late in the fourth quarter.
I had this game in the background here on the computer, and as of course the Bears game, I stopped watching after the Aaron Jones touchdown, and went to Patriots, Eagles Patriots into this game here, and just a pretty interesting game. Of course, you had a good start early on. You thought that maybe Russell Wilson was gonna be a little bit more comfortable with that new offense of Sean Payton's, but I know Jerry Judy's out right now, but it's just like it showed a little bit of a. I knew Wilson threw for 2 touchdowns and such, but Javonte Williams had a 52 rushing yards. But look, I mean, Kobe Myers was the man of the hour there, and like you said, so it was a back and forth game, but Denver left a lot of points on the board, I think.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Speaking of Eagles and Patriots, let's head over to Foxborough, Massachusetts, just outside of Boston, where they were dealing with some weather-related issues as well, i.e. rain, where the Eagles held on for a 25-20 win over the New England Patriots. Darius Slay of the Philadelphia Eagles had a pick six, 70 yards to the house to be exact. On the flip side for New England, Mac Jones, 316 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception. Kenneth Gainwell for Philadelphia had 14 carries for 54 yards. A.J. Brown had 7 catches for 79 yards. I'll say this, Lakina, I didn't get a chance to watch the whole game yet, but for what I saw, unlike the Bears, the Patriots did not quit.
No, and they could have, Eagles went up 16-0 in the first quarter, and they fought back. I know that the defense actually was able to they held the Eagles once they settled down for a little bit. I know they sacked Jalen Hurts 3 times. But it was actually the defense that did, a little bit more. They were able to stop the Patriots, from winning the game. And look, it ended up being a pretty entertaining game. I mean, they honored Tom Brady. I mean, he did the whole the drum with the lighthouse that it just opened up. He was there on the sidelines, did a little bit of commentating there for a little bit, and but yeah, I mean, it was one of those games where you wonder if the weather had been better, but from jump, this would have been a little bit more interesting, and maybe the Patriots would have been able to pull it out. But look, the Eagles, it was ugly. But look, Nick Sirianni wouldn't mind that these types of games. So you'll take it. And look, and I think afterwards, you got to be feeling pretty good for the Eagles right now. You want to show people like Coach Sirianni said, nobody cares what you did last year. You're talking about this year, and look, and they showed at least early on they did.
Yes, indeed they did. Let's head over to the West Coast now, i.e. Los Angeles, California, in SoFi Stadium, where the Miami Dolphins shot the San Diego Chargers of Los Angeles, as we call them on this show, 36-34. Tua Tagovailoa for the Dolphins had 466 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception. Our guy Jason Palmer is happy today, I'm sure.
Yes, he is.
Austin Eckler for the Chargers pardon my Arnold Schwarzenegger, had 16 carries, 117 yards, and a touchdown. Tyreek Hill was the man of the hour from the Miami Dolphins. I had him on my fantasy team yesterday. 11 catches, 215 yards, and 2 touchdowns, including the game winner late in the fourth quarter.
466 yards for Tua, and I think that's I think that's the fourth most passing yards in a season opener in NFL history. Noah Van Brocklin, who did it in 51, Tom Brady, who did it in 2011, and Dan Marino, who did it in 94. So, the Chargers broke my heart again. I mean, Eckler, Eckler had the guy's touchdown. I think that's great, but I think Mike Wednesday was hurt, so he was off I think he had a hamstring injury too, so he was off, had to go off for a little bit. So that kind of threw everything off in the offense. That defense for the Chargers, where the hell were you for? You're going to get the Tua? Yeah, I'll say, yeah.
For the first drive of the game for the Dolphins, like I said, I watched the majority of this game live via this computer screen. They forced a fumble on the Dolphins opening drive, but after that, I think and of course they had the interception. But after that, like I said, they were in no show.
They didn't sack Tua though. That's the thing.
Exactly.
That was a problem. 0 sacks for the Chargers defense. Seriously, really? They did Eric Kendricks. You're a veteran. Where the hell were you? Four solo tackles, 7 tackles. Okay, no sacks. Derwin James Jr. I mean, I know Tyreek Hill is probably one of the I know he's one of the fastest guys in the league, and he couldn't stop him. But good grief, I mean. You had the speed to kind of stay with them. So, yeah, that defense, though, I mean, Joey Bosa, only 1 tackle? I'll get to my son does in a second. But, yeah, 1 tackle? Really?
Yeah.
But give the Dolphins credit.
Yeah.
They look really good, so I'll give him credit for that.
And also to give Vic Fangio credit, now the new Dolphins defensive coordinator. They brought the house on that last drive for the Chargers. Justin Herbert had nowhere to go.
No, he was. Yeah, they didn't know. It was just give the Dolphins credit. I mean, we thought that the Dolphins defense could have struggled without Jalen Ramsey. At least so far, they're looking really good. That front seven looks, just really good. So yeah, I mean, not surprised by that, but I'm kind of miffed. That's all. But yeah. But going into Seattle, let's go up north to the Pacific Northwest in Seattle. A little bit of surprising score there. You got the Rams beating the Seahawks 30-13. And look, you thought that maybe that they were going to tank this year. I'm talking about the Rams. I guess no one told them that. 354 yards for Matt Stafford. Kyron Williams, 2 rushing touchdowns, but it was rookie from BYU, Puka Nakua, had 119 yards. Also, two. Yeah, boy, he's a 7th-round pick from BYU. I remember because I remember that name. Also, Tutu Atwell also had 119 yards. So those two combined had almost 240 yards. On the flip side for the Seahawks, 64 rushing yards for Kenneth Walker. Geno Smith was sacked a couple of times, didn't have his best showing. And if you heard the sound, thank God for NFL Films and sound, because if you saw our girl, thanks to our girl Christine for giving us this little tidbit there, but Adam should have posted. But with the pass protection, the pressure, it saw Aaron Donald. Geno was like, "Oh my God, look, he has that effect. He has that effect on people." So if you guys didn't see that, make sure you guys look that up on Adam Schefter's Twitter account. But I mean, I'm flabbergasted. We'll give the Rams credit, though.
Yeah, like you said, this was shocker number 2 yesterday in terms of upsets. It was all about the running game, as you mentioned, for the Rams. Matthew Stafford held his own with 334 yards passing. The Rams put this game away with 13 fourth-quarter points, including 23 points overall in the second half, shutting out the Seahawks 23-0. Lakina, I think it's still going to be a long year for the Rams. But like I say, Seattle got caught flat-footed. The Rams had all the momentum in the world. They pounced on the Seahawks' mistakes. And DK Metcalf, I think I'll have one of my duds for him, and we'll get to it in just a second. Seattle lost their cool toward the end of that game yesterday, which was not smart. I'll leave the cliffhanger at that.
Yes. So, so an interesting score there. Another interesting score in the Sunday night game. I don't think anybody saw this. The Cowboys just hammered the Giants 40-0. I mean, jeez, I'll get to all the stats with them in a second. But Dak Prescott didn't have his best showing. Only 143 yards. But he really didn't have to do too much. Though Tony Pollard had a couple of touchdowns and whatnot. I think they had wait, let me see. Let me make sure I have this right. They became the 3rd team in the NFL to record a special teams touchdown and a defensive touchdown, all in the first quarter. Mm-hmm. They joined the 86 Bears and 1967 Bears as well. They were also the 5th team in NFL history to open the season with a shutout of 40-plus points on the road. The last team to do that was the 99 Pittsburgh Steelers that did that against Cleveland. So I don't know if I know Michael Parsons has been touting themselves. Look, they sacked Daniel Jones 7 times at that Cowboys defense. They say, hey, look, we're going to show you why that they're the best defense in the league. At least this week they're showing it. But they had it's just like 5 or 6 fumble recoveries and whatnot. So just an all-out one-sided domination.
Yeah, on the flip side for the New York Football Giants, Daniel Jones did not look good at all. There was no Saquon Barkley. He was there, but there was not enough touches for him. There was a couple of drop balls. Of course, you had that field goal block, which was returned for a touchdown by the Cowboys. The Giants looked all out of sorts. I know if you're a Chicago Bears fan, you got to be really pissed off, and rightfully so. But if you're a New York Giants fan, you really have to be upset, especially after what happened last year. Lakita, do you know how many points that the Giants defense has given up their last 2 games? This is going back to last year's playoff loss at Philadelphia and, of course, last night to the Dallas Cowboys. Guess how many points this Giants defense has given up?
Like 80-something?
78 points.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, that's not good. So that's not good. So, yeah, like I said, I don't want to make any overreactions, but the Giants, it looks like maybe people are starting to figure out that Brian Daboll offense.
That's why I told you that the Giants will make the playoffs this year. When the rest of the league has tape on you, what you did from the year before, you got to make the adjustments to what your opponent does. He's going to find that out this year. I'm talking about Brian Daboll. It looks like Kevin O'Connell, to a lesser extent with Minnesota, he's going to find that out this year too. Well, he did yesterday with a loss, but
yeah, well, he did too. Yeah. So, oh my gosh, this is Second City Sports on Chicago. Lakina McGee, Cindy Brown, with you once again. Okay, Sid. Real quick, let's do our studs and duds for Week 1.
My 3 studs are the Dallas Cowboys defense, Tyreek Hill, and Jordan Love.
All right. Oh gosh. Well, look, I won't copy. I'll say Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence. Those those last couple of touchdown passes. And Puka Nakua, I'll do that. He's the fourth. He's actually the fourth player in NFL history to have 10 receptions over 100 yards. He looks like 119 yesterday in his first career game, joining the likes of Anquan Bolden and Sid Blanks, who did all the way back in 1964. So a stud for him. And let me see who else. I'll give two on my other side. I'll do that.
Okay.
All right, and your duds.
My three duds. I don't know if you caught this yesterday during the broadcast, Lakina, for the Bears-Packers, but the Bears had a bunch of penalties, and which really set them back as well. They got to clean that up. But I think it was the second drive of the game. I can't remember, but it was a false start, and the referee said false start, and you should call out the jersey number. He said the whole offensive line.
Yeah, everybody but the center. Yeah, the whole offensive line.
The offensive line. So you can't get any more silly than that, but you got to be truthful. You got to be truthful. So my first dud would be the Bears offensive line. My second dud would be the whole New York Football Giants team. And my third dud, the Cincinnati Bengals. Like I said, I picked Cleveland on our show last Friday to win, but I didn't think Cincinnati would come out as piss poor like that.
Yeah, that was just brutal there. My duds real quick. The Steelers, that's my dud. The entire Giants team, just awful. And I know NBC was not very happy about that. And let's see, who else will be my dud? I'll say Minnesota, mainly because that was a very disappointing performance on their part. So we'll see if people are starting to figure them out. But not a good performance against Tampa. There were a couple of ways they could have easily won that game, but they didn't.
All right, real quickly, Keena, I know we're up against it, but tonight is the debut of Monday Night Football 2023 edition. You can see that game at 7:15 p.m. Central Standard Time on ESPN, ABC, ESPN Plus, and ESPN2. The minicast returns. Yay! It's the New York Football Jets hosting the Buffalo Bills in this AFC East matchup. Lakina, I did pick the Jets on Friday. I'm not going to turn away from my pick. I'm going to stick to it. The Buffalo Bills are 2-point favorites now. For the Jets, it's all about getting after Josh Allen tonight. And on offense for the Jets, Aaron Rodgers is obviously protecting him, i.e. the offensive line. Let's see how they can get that running game going. I think it's going to be a 2 or 3 running back committee with Dalvin Cook. He's on my fantasy team, by the way. Dalvin Cook and Breece Hall. And let's see how Garrett Wilson does tonight. I want to see how this Jets offense does against this very tough Buffalo Bills defense.
I think for me, it's going to be about the pass rushing. I think we know Von Miller's still out for Buffalo. He's going to be out for a couple more weeks. If they can get to Aaron Rodgers, that pass rush, hopefully they can do that. And look, that's going to be the key. And also the running back, let's see how the nerves is. Not necessarily the nerves, but got all the stuff, from 9/11, all of that atmosphere going on there over at MetLife. I know they did with the Giants. They didn't do them. It didn't really help them. So we'll see if the opposite is true for the Jets. And look, it should be an interesting game tonight. Like I said, look, I think it's gonna be about the pass rush. If same thing with the Jets. If they're pass rush, Quinn Williams got his money, so hopefully he can get to Josh Allen. So it's gonna be it should be an entertaining game nonetheless.
And pay attention to this matchup tonight between Sauce Gardner, the defensive back for the Jets, not his second year, against Stephon Diggs, the wide receiver for Buffalo. I'm looking forward to that matchup tonight.
That should be, that'll be probably one of the more interesting ones. I think they're going to be seeing each other a lot tonight. So I know, don't be surprised if Joe Buck and Troy call their names a lot. But just a real quick, one bonus dud me because I had the Cowboys on my bench. They had 74 points, so that's another dud. Bonus dud for me, but that's another fancy, but whatever. But
I had the Cowboys defense too. I had them on my bench, but I had the 49ers defense starting, so it's a good trade-off.
Yeah, I'll say same here. So it wasn't too bad, but I would have won. But I need Stephon Diggs to have a good showing. I think I got Garrett Wilson too. I need both those guys to have a good showing for me to win my my opening. Yeah, so I need both of them to play very well. So I'm hoping for like a close game. So and it should be, but we'll see what happens. All right, hour number 1 in the books. Hour number 2 straight ahead. Of course, we're going to talk some college football. After this break, of course, Colorado does it again. Some interesting upsets. Is Texas back for real? We'll see. And also, too, of course, don't worry, Brandon. We'll talk some baseball. We're going to talk about it in 1:30 hour. I know he's been asking about his Astros. I just did pretty well over the weekend. But we're talking some college football. Of course, we got baseball. Then we got U.S. Open and old school TV Monday, too. So a lot to do still. The second hour, Lakina McGee, City Brown, Second City Sports, Sports of Chicago, College Gridiron coming up right after this.
No, I don't know, though. I'm scared. I mean,
Do you know that you're in my lane? No, not at all. Are you not paying attention? Are you texting? I was just checking in with my mom. I was telling her that I thought we'd be home by 6. It's okay. There's enough time. Just pay attention. I'm not even halfway through my text. There's no way. I'm not even going to look up. My babies are in the car. You have to pay attention. It's just supposed to be a quick text. I'm so sorry.
Hi, I'm Tom Brady, the director of DODEA. September is National Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. The simple act of reaching out and caring for those in our communities is something we all can do. Just being there for someone you care about can be a tremendous first step in getting them access to confidential resources and support that they need. It only takes one person and one small act and 1 minute to make a difference. Let's make a difference.
Many will hear the calling. Few will earn the title. United States Marine. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Welcome back. No, go ahead.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of this Monday edition of Second City Sports. We're live and live in color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid. That's Lakina. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow my Keenan McGee on the Twitter, X, and Keenan McGee on the IG.
And we have less than an hour left of this extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show. You have any questions or comments for us, you can always go to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. And just for a daily reminder, you can also catch Sports Zone Chicago now available on Roku TV.
As I'm fading away here, I'm going to adjust that in a second. So, of course, we're going to talk some college football. Of course, we're going to stick with football. We're going to go on the college side. Yes, I'll get it out the way just because this is the only game Sid actually watched over the weekend. Colorado beat Nebraska.
Yay!
All right. Hold on here. There are 132 other FBS teams besides Colorado, but I digress. But look, I mean, look, they got consecutive games scoring at least 30 points for the first time since the COVID season in 2020. They had just one game in which they scored 30 points. They've already done it twice already. They only had one instance where they scored more than 20 points. That was a loss to Utah last year. Of course, Shedeur Sanders, threw for another 438 yards. He's the first QB, I think, from Colorado to throw for 440, almost over 900 yards. First Colorado QB, I think, ever do. I don't even think Cordell Stewart did that back in the day, but I mean, look, these were not the Nebraska black shirts they were playing, so I think we need to kind of say that. But still, there was no letdown in that game from that game against TCU.
Yeah, Colorado struggled in that first half, and Deion Sanders talked about it at halftime. They needed to make some adjustments. The adjustments they did. They scored 23 second half points next to Nebraska's 14. Lakina, give Nebraska the defense credit. Their front four in their back four, their secondary. They kept Colorado out of the end zone. They didn't let Shedeur Sanders do what he needed to do, which he did in that second half, which is scramble out of the pocket and make some connections to his receivers downfield. The Nebraska defense was the MVP of that first half. Now, in the second half, as I mentioned, the Buffaloes turned it around, including Mr. Weaver, for Colorado. He had 10 catches for 170 yards and a touchdown. Xavier Weaver for Colorado. He had 10 catches, 170 yards and a touchdown. Shedeur Sanders, yes, Deion's kid can play, and he can also dance as well. And he can show off that arm, and that's what he did in that second half as Colorado pulled away. They got a tough one next week against the state rival Colorado State. On the flip side for Nebraska, I think we talked about this with Dave Rebson for the Big Ten Network a couple of weeks ago. That Sims kid, the quarterback for Nebraska, he led the Big Ten in turnovers for the last 2 years. I see why Nebraska can't go on. I'm not blaming everything on him, but he was a big reason why Nebraska couldn't pull off the upset on Saturday.
Yeah. I mean, it was one of those things where you're kind of like, you're wondering, like, is he the problem? Because look, you got a new scheme with Matt Rule, so I don't know if maybe he's the problem. Maybe that's not a good system for him, but they're gonna have to make the switch. But I mean, look, like I said, there was no letdown. Look, it gets tougher for Colorado after this game, but yeah, Nebraska, I think they're kind of at a crossroads. I don't want to say that Matt Rule can't get them back, but it's gonna be very interesting here, especially the rest of they let one slip away against Minnesota the week before. They had 10 days to prepare for this game. They still didn't look great, so I don't know, but we'll see what happens there. As I can see, Sports on Chicago. Lakina McGee, City Brown with you now. Texas, is Texas back? Maybe not. 34-24 win at Alabama in Tuscaloosa. I think this is the first loss for Nick Saban at home since his first year. I think Louisiana Monroe beat them, and also too, I think another stat here. This is actually the first loss for Nick Saban as a football head coach. All three when he was at LSU. Florida beat them in 1917. It is actually also Texas's first when it gets to AP top 3 teams. You got to go all the way back to 1969. No, we're not that old, folks. But remember, they showed on the Longhorn Network all the time. It's on YouTube too. Against Arkansas, that game of the century that was dubbed there back in 1969, the centennial year for college football. But look, Quinn Ewers, this is sort of like a coming of age for him. He had 349 yards and 3 touchdowns. Jonathan Brooks had a touchdown, rushing touchdown. Adonai Mitchell, I hope I'm saying his name right. He had 2 touchdowns, of course, to Taylor Sanders. No relation to Deion or Shedeur Sanders, a different Sanders. But he had 114 yards. But it was their defense. I mean, their defense actually looked really solid. I think they sacked Jalen Monroe 4 or 5 times. So. Look, you kind of feel like a coming of age of Quinn, so of Ewers, I should say. He looks better. He cut his hair. He's a very spiritual guy. I think that's definitely kind of helped him center him. So you saw it. And look, I think Texas looked really good. I'm not going to say they're back, but they're on their way. I think this was a big win for him and Coach Sarkisian in that program in a while.
Yeah, shout out to Coach Steve Sarkisian. And of course, he was a former offensive coordinator with the Atlanta Falcons in the NFL. Of course, I think he worked with Alabama many years ago under Nick Saban's staff. So they took advantage of a couple of big busted coverages from the Alabama secondary downfield early in the game. And so they took advantage of that, scored a couple of big touchdowns. But I think we talked about this on Friday, Lakina, last Friday, that it was going to come down to the defense of Texas. And I brought up this stat last year that Texas should have beaten Alabama when the game was in Texas last year. They had it right down to the wire, but they couldn't pull it off. I'm talking about the Longhorns, but they learned their lesson from a year ago. They were the more aggressive team than the Crimson Tide, and it shouldn't have been a surprise that Texas got there with the win. Not just. I think the surprise comes to the way that Texas dominated Alabama in Alabama, because I think no one expected that.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I think the score is more what's shocking folks than the fact that Texas won. I did. Some people actually did pick Texas, but I don't think people thought that Texas were going to dominate the way they did. So, congrats to them. Look, we'll see if they can build on that. I think they're at number 3, like 3 or 4 right now. Yeah, this is actually the first time that all the Power 6 conferences have been represented in the top 5, so that's pretty cool. We'll get to that in a second. But yeah, I mean, no really trouble. I mean, Georgia, Michigan didn't have any trouble. Florida State, no letdown for them. Ohio State, Kyle McCord looks like, that's his team. And of course, Marvin Harrison Jr. had 3 touchdown catches.
The Bears should draft him.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens there. Had his 5th game of the start of last season with 100 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns and most in FBS over that span. He's the only other player to do that for Ohio State was Mr. Chris Olave, who did that a couple of years ago. So I think he wanted to make up from last week. So that was a nice makeup for them. USC, no trouble with Stanford. Penn State, no trouble with Delaware. Washington, no trouble with Tulsa. Tennessee, no trouble with Austin Peay State. Notre Dame and North Carolina State, they had to wait, I think, like an hour and a half because it was raining down over there in Raleigh. So they had to wait a little bit, but that ended up okay. Notre Dame beat the Wolfpacks 45-24. Utah needed a couple late scores to beat Baylor 20-13. Still without Cameron Rice, of course, he's recovered from that ACL and surgery. But Baylor, they had their chance to put this game away, but they didn't.
Yeah, I did see a couple of clips from that game. Well, I don't know what's going on with Baylor. They were on the top of the mountain in college football as far as turning it around, and then now it looks like they're going back into the cellar again. Utah, when you talk about they opened up their season against Florida, won there, and now they had a comeback win at Baylor. This is a good character win for that program. I said they try to stay atop of the Pac-12 standings, battling Colorado right now, and perhaps USC as the top dog of overall. I want to get to this game, Lakina. I did check out some of this at the end. One of the secondary players got hurt, but it was the Miami Hurricanes, the U, going to 2-0. They defeated number 23 Texas A&M 48-33. Tyler Van Dyke had a career high with 5 touchdown passes.
Yeah, the first player in Miami history to throw 5 TD passes against an AP top 25 team, which you thought that way. That's kind of weird considering all the great players that have come, quick QBs that come from that Miami program. He's the first guy to throw for 5 TDs against an AP top 25. But look, this is a nice win for Mario Cristobal. That secondary, I forgot the guy's name, but he has been released from the hospital. He was released yesterday, so he's going to be recuperating there. So, great, cool set medical staff for getting to him pretty quick. But yeah, I mean, look, that defense from Miami. I mean, look, I mean, they intercepted Connor Weigman, twice, and that definitely put the game away there. So look, I mean, to me, I think college football is better when Miami's at the top.
Yes.
So they're not there yet, but it looks like Mario Cristobal is trying to get them. Look, he won a couple of championships with them, so he knows the U and all that. He knows history very well. And we'll see. I mean, look, Xavier Restrepo had 126 receiving yards for Miami. So, yeah, it looks like, Van Slyke has been kind of like been knocking on the Van Dyke, I should say, have been knocking on the door for some time. So maybe they've finally starting to find their groove. And look, Miami, they're now 2-0, so maybe they're starting to find their groove a little bit.
Hopefully he's the answer, Lakina, because remember we talked about Miami the last 2-3 years on this show. They couldn't find the quarterback. It looks like they found it now. So we'll we'll see what happens with that. Hopefully they can keep it going. Now, locally, quickly in college football, focusing on the state of Illinois, the Fighting Illini, as I fear, they go down to the University of Kansas. They lose to the Jayhawks 34-23. And for those of you not making fun of this situation, but for those of you who care, the Northwestern Wildcats won that whole open over UTEP 38-7.
That's nice.
Okay, moving on.
Yeah, I was saying that's nice. Yeah, okay, let's move along. Oregon and Texas Tech. I mean, that was a thrilling game. 38-30. A couple of defensive stops by Oregon. Of course, it was kind of a good but ugly game too. I know Bo Nix had an interception on the goal line, but it wasn't an interception on the goal line, so that was called back. It was a kind of back and forth a little bit, but it was actually Oregon's defense that kind of put the game away for Tech. It was a pick six. That kind of put that game away there. So like I said, it was really the defense. Jeffrey Bassa had the interception, pick six, that kind of put that game away for Oregon. So tough. Look, that's not an easy crowd to play in. Lubbock, Texas. I mean, look, I'm sure that place was rocking, and look, Oregon did just enough to win that game. Yeah, we talk about Bo Nix, the starting quarterback for the Ducks. He's I'm not going to say a hidden candidate, but he's definitely a top 5, top 10 candidate for the Heisman Trophy. He has an arm, so we'll see what happens to climb up. There's also another team that's trying to climb up in the standings in the soon-to-be revamped Pac-12. The Battle of the State of Iowa took place last week, Lakina. In the home turf of the Cyclones, the Iowa Hawkeyes come out there with a 20-13 win. Iowa did score some points, unlike last week when they had 34 in their whole opening win. But they were scored 2 touchdowns less last Saturday. But they escaped the Cyclones territory with the 7-point win. Yeah, a couple. Yeah, the defense, definitely did step up. I think they had a couple of interceptions. They said that Rocco Beck, who's only a true freshman, so I'm sure he's only going to get better late. So again, not the prettiest, but I guess if you're Kirk Ferentz, you'll take that if you're Iowa and that defense. So again, not a bad showing for. This is what 3 in a row. I think this is what 2 in a row. I think for the Hawkeyes beating the Cyclones in that little rivalry there. LSU, we said that they were going to take it out on Grambling, and they did 72-10.
Moving on.
K-State over Troy, Oregon State, a great showing there against UC Davis. North Carolina in overtime to beat Appalachian State in 2 overtimes, 40-34, and. Look, I know Mac Brown even kind of joked that they'll have to play Appalachian State for a little bit, but because they gave him a little bit of fits. But look, I mean, George Drake May, a solid showing for him. 208 yards, again, not the prettiest, but Omarion Hampton, 234 yards, 3 touchdowns. That's got to be a record for someone from North Carolina running back. It's got to be, or it's up there at the very least. So. Not a bad showing there, but look, you do what you're supposed to do. You're up against the wall against a dangerous in-state opponent, but they did just enough to win it. Yeah, Drake May, the star quarterback for the Tar Heels. He could be the second quarterback taken in next year's NFL draft. He may be the second best quarterback in the country. He did what he had to do for the men in blue to pull out that victory. I want to go to this game real quick, Lakina. And that was Maryland over Charlotte in that NBC Saturday night game, 38-20. I saw that game, yeah. 38-20. Do you think Maryland can surprise some folks this year? I know there were some few folks that were whispering that the Terrapins could surprise some folks this year, at least get to a better bowl game. Yeah, we asked Dave Rebson about that too, and he said, I mean, look, they've got and I saw a little bit of that game, and look, Charlotte's been pretty good the last few years, and look, Maryland. I think their defense, though, I think that's really going to be that's really their number one thing. That front seven isn't very good for the Terps, so I'm a little worried about that. But look, I think offensive they can hang with the best of them. So it's really going to be, if it comes out of defense, the other team may have a little bit of an edge there. But again, I mean that we'll see what happens with that. But I'm looking, this should be fun once Big Ten play starts. I think they both play Michigan and Penn State too. So I think they could give both those teams fits. So we'll see what happens there. Now I want to get to this game here. The other Saturday game was at the same time. So we'll turn back for this one. Wisconsin once again for the second straight year loses to Washington State. Wazoo. Cam Ward 2 TD passes for him, and that air raid right now is not looking good so far. They haven't been really consistent with it, unfortunately. Yeah, shout out to our good friend of the show, Miss Kayla Anderson from 104.5 FM, Nashville's #1 sports radio station.
I know she's a Wazoo girl. I saw some of her pictures on the Twitter X over the weekend. I know she couldn't be any more happy than she was over the weekend as her alma mater took down Wisconsin. Lakina, like you said, what happened to Wisconsin's offense? And I don't know about you, but it seemed to me that they were scraping and crawling and trying to score some points. They put up 22, which was respectable, but it just didn't look good from 60 minutes watching.
Yeah, that air raid, I think they may have to do some adjustment with that air raid offense. That's not who Wisconsin is. So once they did start getting the running backs the ball, I think it was just too little too late. I think one of the running backs even fumbled, which kind of broke the game up for Wazoo. So glad to figure that up there in Madison. So we'll see what happens. Real quick into this game, Ole Miss they pulled away from Tulane, and look. I mean, give the Ole Miss credit for going there and perhaps even that could have been an easy loss. But look, Jackson Dart, he's been around forever. It feels like had 2 touchdown passes for him, and Kai Horton, of course, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. But it was really their defense that kind of put the game away for Ole Miss.
Yep, a couple other late night Saturday night scores to pass along. Auburn gets by California 14-10, and Oklahoma State beats Arizona State by 27-15.
They pulled away from them late. And James Madison upset Virginia 36-35. I know that Virginia had that tragedy with the 3 players being killed before the end of the season. I know there was still a lot of emotion for that, but I don't want to say they use that as an excuse. But I think I'm sure the Virginia people want to win football games, so they lost a tough one against Tennessee last week. Then they lose to one of their in-state rivals, James Madison, who actually been pretty solid in the FCS. But yeah, I don't know if this is not the start that they wanted, I'm sure. And on a happy note though, Southern Illinois got the best Northern Illinois in a pretty good game.
Upset, yay!
14-11. Yeah, another team that does very well at FCS. They go to the playoffs consistently. I'm talking about Southern Illinois, I should say. Mm-hmm. So a nice showing by them, and kind of a letdown for Northern.
Yeah, did you mention this score earlier, Lakina? I know Purdue had a bad loss in their home opener against Fresno State, but they bounced back with the 24-17 win over Virginia Tech.
Yeah, I was a little surprised by that score, but I mean, look, they were at Virginia Tech too, Blacksburg. I know that's not an easy place to play, so if you're Purdue, you'll definitely take that, especially after what happened last week against Fresno State. So go on the road in a very tough environment in Blacksburg. Yeah, that should be a nice little pick me up for the Boilermakers. Okay,
I know we got to close out for the bottom of the hour break, but who are your top 3 Heisman candidates right now through 2 weeks?
Oh, you're putting me on the spot right now. I know Caleb Williams. Look, he's a guy to beat. So unless someone knocks him out, he's been putting up good numbers. I think Sanders, and I'll even put Quentin Ewers up there. I think he's definitely earned a spot to be in a Heisman conversation, I think. What about you?
I think I just only have 2. I think it's Caleb Williams first and Shedeur Sanders of Colorado second. For Shedeur Sanders, it starts this week with Colorado State, and of course they have Oregon and USC to follow in the next 2 weeks. So I want to see Mr. Sanders put up those numbers against better competition. He's done well so far this year, like in 8 touchdown passes, I believe, no turnovers. Mm-hmm. If he could do that in these next 3 games, that Colorado comes away with at least 2 out of those 3 games with wins, he's going to be out there striving with Mr. Caleb Williams for that Heisman Trophy.
Yeah, absolutely. So it should be interesting. And like you said, it's going to get tougher for Colorado because that Colorado State squad is actually pretty good. So I'm sure they'll be ready. So
yes, they will.
The Rams, they'll be ready for them. So
yes. And speaking of Colorado, both Fox Big Noon Kickoff and ESPN College Game Day will be in Boulder once again this coming week.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting to have both of them because they rarely do this to go to the same campus in the same week. So this will be.
Well, Fox is back to back.
Yeah, because they were supposed to go to Champaign for Illinois and Penn State.
For Fox, and they said nope.
Yeah, I think they saw Illinois' performance against Kansas. They were like, no thanks. But we'll see. Like I said, Penn State's gonna want their revenge after what happened last year. So I'm sure they're gonna want their revenge. But we'll talk about that on Friday. So we're gonna take a really quick break. I know our buddy Brandon's been wanting to talk baseball. We're gonna get to it, Brandon. I promise. And of course, we got the U.S. Open. And also to Old School TV Monday should be a good little tight things to wrap things up here at Second Season Sports on Sports Chicago. Lakina McGee, Cindy Brown. Gonna go to the Diamond coming up right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too. These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver. I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you, your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to Second City Sports on this Monday edition. We're live in living color right here on Sports Soul Chicago. I'm Sid. That's Lakina. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, that's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. SIDKID80.
You follow my Kid McGee on the Twitter, and I can just go again on IG.
This is the last break of the show. This is our last break for the show. So less than a half hour to go. So you have any last minute questions or comments, you can put them in the comment section at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Look, the best ones and the most creative ones, Lakina will put them up on the screen for you. And just a daily reminder, you can also catch Sports Zone Chicago now available on Roku TV.
All right, so we're going to do this rapid fire because, of course, we're up against it, but I want to get this much in as possible. So, yeah, baseball, keep it short and sweet and to the point. Unfortunately, now the Cubs did salvage one game against the Diamondbacks. You know, Kyle Hendricks had a great showing yesterday about, 5 2/3. I think he only had like 2 hits or something like that. So it was Cody Bellinger and Christopher Morel and Davey Swanson. They were the guys that kind of got it going for the Cubs, which they really needed that win after what happened the last 3 games before. So, they're still 3 games up on Milwaukee. They didn't lose too much ground. Thank you, New York Yankees. Yay. So real quick, your quick synopsis of the Cubs and that Diamondback series.
As we mentioned, Cal Hendricks is the savvy veteran for that Chicago Cubs team. Of course, I think he's the number 2 pitcher for the Cubs next to Justin Steele, since Marcus Stroman will not be back anytime soon. Hendricks did the job yesterday, was 4 strikeouts, even though he gave up 7 hits to 5 2/3 innings. We talked about this on our show last Friday, Lakina. And of course, after we got off the air, the Cubs lost that tough 1-0 game, especially with the weather. With the weather changing a little bit here as we're starting to get into fall, you have to manufacture runs and not depend so much on the home run. Arizona took advantage of the small ball through the first 3 games of the series. But as you mentioned, the Cubs bats woke up yesterday. It was led by Dansby Swanson. You need those veterans to help lead the younger guys. And that's what happened yesterday. As we said before, we'll say it again. As long as the Cubs put up between 4 and 7 runs a game and get good enough starting pitching, they should win the majority of those games. Now, in the playoffs, we all know that runs come at a premium, and this Cubs team has to start getting used to that now. So from here on out, they're going to have to play playoff-type style baseball, and that's what they did yesterday.
Yeah, they did. So hopefully they can keep that up. And the Sox, I mean, they lose 2 out of 3 in Detroit. Okay. Moving on. What caught your eye in the MLB this weekend?
Shout out to our guy, Mr. Brandon Schutz, in the chat, and he brought up in the comments about your Seattle Mariners. Yes, they lost 3 out of 4.
I know, I saw it,
to the Tampa Bay Rays, while the Baltimore Orioles take 2 out of 3 from Boston Red Sox. The Boston Red Sox. So, of course, Tampa Bay keeps on rolling. While the Toronto Blue Jays, they came back from an early 2-0 deficit against the lowly Royals to win yesterday and to sweep that series. So the American League wild card chase, Seattle stumbles, but Baltimore, which they'll probably end up winning the AL East. But it's Boston, Toronto starting to make a move. Could we say the Yankees? But I'm not buying them. I'm really not.
Yeah, I mean the Yankees are. I think they're like eight back. They had to jump over. I think 3 teams, before 2 teams, and then they got to jump over Boston. And I know Boston, had a up and down showing over the weekend. Texas is right there too. They had a really good weekend. So, they still got about 6 weeks left. So you never 5 weeks left. Easy for me to say, I should say. So you never know. They got about a month left. So you never know. Weird things have happened, these last few weeks. So, but look, they lost Dominguez. I think he has a UCL injury, so he's going to be
that's
out.
sad. Yeah, he had 4 home runs in his first 8 games, and then this happens. Yeah.
And he was one of the reasons why the Yankees is basically back in it. So losing him, that might come back to bite them. So we'll see what happens there. Yeah, my Mariners. I mean, oh God. I mean, but look, I guess it happens. I mean, hopefully we can kind of bounce back. I know Tampa, losing 3 out of 4 in Tampa. That's not an easy place to play. So I'll let that slide. They did reinstate Kalinick from the IL, so that should help them out a little bit, beefing up, hopefully help Julio Rodriguez out in that outfield. So, but I'm not too worried. There's still a lot to be decided here in both some of these divisions. And okay, we said to Minnesota. I think they've already got that Central wrapped up. So
Cleveland. This time last year they were taking it to the White Sox, and this year they're taking it to themselves, and it's just not good.
Yeah, so that's pretty bad. And look, like I said, Milwaukee, thank you, Yankees, for winning that series against them. They didn't lose too much ground, which is good. So, didn't lose too much ground in that series. They're basically back to where they were when before that game. They're 3 games back. I'm talking about the Cubs are in that division. They're still up, I think, 2 in the wild cards, and that's for that second wild card spot. So, hopefully, they can kind of get it going there. The Dodgers. I know they've been having some problems lately off the field, but they did win 2 out of 3 against Washington. They didn't make it easy for them. I'm talking about the Nationals. So, but yeah, they should be able to. They wrap that thing up, and the Braves have already clinched a playoff spot. They already clinched the East, AL East, NL East, I should say. So, don't have to worry about that. So
their magic number talking about Atlanta 6 to clinch the division, NL East.
Yes, so yeah, they're the first. I think they're the first team to clinch their division. So everybody else is still. I know Minnesota's probably always. I don't know what their magic. I'm talking about the Twins' magic number is. So I think they'll probably be next.
Hopefully they'll do it here this weekend against the Sox, but who knows?
Look, you never know.
Yeah, shout out to I got Brandon in the chat again. I was about to bring this team up, the Houston Astros. Yeah, they take 2 out of 3 from the San Diego Padres, another team that's been disappointing this year. And the Astros have a pretty good shot at taking the AL West, as I said, looking in June and July after the All-Star break. You know, Texas got out to that hot start. Don't be surprised if the Astros start turning it on, and they're doing it right now, especially with those bats. And also, too, the San Francisco Giants, they swept the Colorado Rockies over the weekend. I know they beat them last night on Sunday Night Baseball 6-3. We were ready to throw dirt in them around this time last week. I guess they got swept by the Chicago Cubs here in Chicago on the north side. But they were down 4-0 on Friday against the Rockies, came back to win the game 9-8. Of course, they dominated Colorado again on last Saturday 9-1. Of course, they won a close last night 6-3. So the San Francisco Giants trying to keep up with the Diamondbacks for that fight in the NL wild card.
Yeah, they're only a game and a half back for that final wild card spot, so they're still in it. So they took care of business, did what they're supposed to, and sweeping the Rockies. So should be interesting to see what happens. But yeah, these next 4 or 5 weeks left in the season.
Mm-hmm.
They get very interesting.
Yes, and shout out to the Miami Marlins. They take 2 out of 3 from Philadelphia over the weekend in Philadelphia.
That's not good for them, but bad for Philadelphia. I mean, this was your chance to kind of put them away in the wild card side. You didn't, and now they're kind of like breathing down your necks. You're still leading the wild card, but you got about 4 or 5 teams behind you. Would love to kind of get that top wild card spot so you can host a wild card game. So we'll see. It's gonna be very interesting these next few weeks. Now going to the schedule real quick. You got Atlanta and Philadelphia. They're starting their 4-game series that's on right now. St. Louis and Baltimore. Baltimore trying to put a little bit of distance between themselves and the Rays in the AL East. Excuse me. Pittsburgh, Washington. They got another double. Well, they got 2 doubleheaders too, of course. Because they didn't play in Philadelphia. They couldn't play earlier this year. Mm-hmm. So they're making up for that game. So 2 games that doubleheader. Texas and Toronto. Both teams need this game. Desperate to stay within distance of the AL wild card. Diamondbacks and Yankees. You can help yourselves out, Yankees, by winning this series.
The Mets.
Oh, why do they look that the logos look so much alike? I don't know why, but but I'm sure the Mets will love to play spoiler though for the Diamondbacks. I'm sure. Now the Yankees do play Boston, so this could be an elimination series for both teams in the AL wild card. So of course the Royals and the White Sox, yuck. And the Marlins and Milwaukee. Go Miami.
And finish out the rest of the schedule for tonight. You got Tampa Bay at Minnesota, Oakland at Houston, the Cubs at Colorado to face the Rockies, the Angels at La Quina Seattle Mariners, Cleveland at San Francisco, and the San Diego Padres will travel to Los Angeles to take on the Dodgers. And other series that are starting tomorrow goes like this: Cincinnati's at Detroit, Texas is at Toronto. That should be a good series. Mm-hmm. And Cardinals and the Orioles, I think they start tonight. So I digress for now. I think you already read that one. Remember, no Fox Saturday baseball this week because of college football. So the Fox Saturday baseball schedule will move to this Thursday. Most of the country will watch on Thursday at 6 o'clock Chicago time. Then Yankees at the Red Sox, while the rest of the nation will get Tampa Bay at Baltimore.
Yeah, both have huge playoff implications too. So we'll see if like I said, that Yankees Red Sox series is probably going to be an elimination series too. The Yankees are trying to kind of catch up a little bit. So so it should be interesting to see what happens in that series.
Yeah. Real quickly, Kim, before we move on, shout out to our guy, Nick Morowski, formerly of Locked On White Sox podcast, but he still has his own podcast with Pat Hester called Good Guys Talk Back. That's once again Good Guys Talk Back. You can listen to that podcast wherever you download your podcast, and you can watch it, the live videos on YouTube. We had him on this show before, and hopefully we'll have him on again if the White Sox do anything interesting this offseason. But he gave me a shout out last night because he gave me a shout out last night because I put up a post about Yohan Makata. Of course, he was injured once again on Saturday with that right knee. He sat out yesterday's loss to the Detroit Tigers. I put up a post this time last week Because remember, I think I brought this up at the All-Star break, Lakina, when he was coming back. I said, if Johan Makata decides to swing the bat, if you're now new GM Chris Getz for the White Sox, you'll be smart enough to trade him. I know you're going to have to eat a lot of that money because I think he's owed $27 million next year. Whoever trades for him, the White Sox got to pick up at least a big chunk of that salary. It depends on who you get back. I'll at least make some calls to see who wants Johan Makata. Like I said, he brings the glove every day, but that bat has been disappointing throughout his whole White Sox career.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting if they decide to, Chris Getz, it's going to be his first big move. We'll see if he can, if he does make that, probably going to be his first big move as a new head guy of baseball operations to, try to maybe perhaps get rid of that contract. So, yeah, we'll see. I mean, look, he has his work cut off for him this offseason, so we'll see if he can do that. Yeah, I'm interested to see what will happen. But, yeah, it's going to get very interesting. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, and then move Michael Kopech back to the bullpen for the rest of the year. But he's still going to be a starter in your rotation, in the starting rotation for 2024. Go figure.
Well, probably you would think he would be a little bit more useful in the bullpen, but again, I digress. But
right,
like I said, of course, we'll see what Chris Getz does. So it's gonna get very interesting. We'll see what happens there. As a second Z Sports, Sports on Chicago, like Keenan McGee, Cindy Brown with you. These next 15 to 20 minutes. Let's wrap things up. We're gonna go to tennis really quick.
Get up, Coco Gauff. You just won the U.S. Open.
Those highlights were from the U.S. Open YouTube channel, social media channel too. I know it got a lot of views over the weekend. We'll talk about the Novak Djokovic winning another U.S. Open title in a second. But yeah, 19-year-old Coco Gauff wins her first Grand Slam title, beating Sabalenka in 3 sets. She, the only other woman that can say that in the Open era since 1968. Also as a teenager, she was. A young Serena Williams, who was 17 years old, who also won the U.S. Open in '99 after losing the first set. So, congrats to her in that front. But yeah, a lot of the parallels there. If you saw her comments afterwards, she called out all the haters. So I wish she had a clip of that. But but she kept it very classy. She didn't. She wasn't too. She kind of kept it even keel and said, hey, you know what? Look, she kind of say, hey, look, sorry guys, you just gave me more fuel to the fire. But hopefully this will be the first of May for Miss Coco Gauff. Yeah, congratulations to Coco Gauff for winning that U.S. Women's Open title. Whoever made that call, that was a terrible call. So I didn't like the tone of that, but I'll leave that alone. Number 2, remember she was coming on the scene. I'm talking about Coco Gauff a few years ago. It was her, Sloane Stephens, and Madison Keys. I don't know what happened to Sloane Stephens, but I know Madison Keys was struggling with injuries and whatnot over the last few years. I know she was making it back. I'm talking about Keys now, and she fell short of reaching the U.S. Open's women's final. But Coco Gauff has made a comeback trail as well. And you saw in that match on Saturday, she hung in there with some Sabalenka, but she had a little bit more than Sabalenka at the end there to take the title. But I think for Sabalenka, I'm tired of that grunting. That's just me being petty. But in all seriousness, that long match that she had with Madison Keys on Thursday night, I think that took the toll out of her, as you saw in the beginning of that match on last Saturday against Gauff. It's all about fatigue and then how much energy that you have left. And I didn't think Sabalenka had it toward the end of that match. No, she really did. I think she kind of ran out of gas. You can tell she was starting to ramp up and tighten up a little bit. You saw her getting some work with a trainer during that, right before that third set. You thought that maybe, after winning that first set, you thought, oh, great, this is going to be like what happened in the French Open, with Coco. She was, losing that first set, but and she was down a break for a little bit, but she fed all the energy from the crowd. The crowd kind of, guided her to come back. Look, it was a kind of a who's who out there. Out there for the U.S. Open. Of course, you had Martina, who has like about 5 or 6 of these U.S. Open titles. You saw Monica Seles, who won in '95 after her unfortunate attack on her, a couple years prior. You saw KD, out there too. So, definitely a who's who among some of the the big sort of things. You saw Coco afterwards, hugging her parents. Of course, Brad Giver, who, remember when I said after she lost at Wimbledon before the second week, he said, "Look, I can help Coco. I can help her out." And soon enough, he was hired to be one of her coaches. And look, she gave him a big hug afterwards. So. Yes, kind of coming to age. So look, I'm not going to stop her. She's going to win like 23 like Serena did, but hopefully this will be the first of many for Coco.
Yeah, so and I talk about all the time who are the new and up and coming stars in golf and in tennis, especially in men's tennis in the U.S. It looks like we may have some stars on the rise there, but we see it on the women's side with Coco Gauff. Hopefully, like you said, if she has a career like the Williams sisters, that would definitely be tremendous. But yeah, hopefully Sloane Stephens can get back her match like she started off with a few years ago. Hopefully Madison Keys can use that loss that she had against Sabalenka the other night to keep herself going, because I can see her win a few more titles. Those two, I'm talking about Madison Keys, those 3 women, talking about Keys, Sloane Stephens, and Coco Gauff. I think they could be the new faces of U.S. women's tennis. It's right there for them.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's right there. I mean, look, there's really no dominant women's player right now. I know Sabalenka is sort of going to be the new number 1. I know Swiatek. I know she's been mental struggle. She lost early on in the U.S. Open. Who knows if Naomi Osaka is going to come back? So, like I said, it's right there.
I know she just had a child too.
She just had a baby. So yeah, so you don't know when she'll be back. So. We'll see what happens with that. Now, on the men's side, of course, you got to give a little shout out to one Mr. Novak Djokovic. Pretty much, I don't want to say dominated Daniil Medvedev, but I think he wanted his revenge from losing to Medvedev a few years ago. For winning the Grand Slam. And, of course, his 4th U.S. Open, which is crazy to me. Like, he's only won 4 U.S. Opens? Okay, I guess that makes sense. It's his now 24th. He now ties with Margaret Court from years ago, because she won the first one back in 1972 when it first started showing it on television. He now ties with her. This is 14th hardcourt major tie with the U.S. Open victory yesterday. That breaks the tie with Serena for the next most by male or female all time. Still breaking records. He said he's not done yet. This is his 3rd time winning 3 of the 4 Grand Slams. I'm sure he's going to be kicking himself for losing to Alcaraz in that Wimbledon. He's still going to be kicking himself with that. But he's not over. He's not done either. He's basically said, "Look, I'm not done yet." So you'll be seeing him till. He's already said he's going to play in the Olympics 4 years from now. Not next year's Olympics in Paris, but I'm sure he'll definitely be in Paris next year. But the one after that in 2028. So
does age creep on this guy or what? He must be in the greatest health of his life. I don't know.
Yeah, if you saw his comments afterwards, of course, he gave a shout out to Kobe Bryant. They were very close friends. They talked about the Mamba mentality and winning mentality. I think he wants to kind of keep going as long as he can. And so his revenge tour, I guess, so he can get himself.
Yeah. All right, Lakina, anything else that caught your eye in the world of sports before we hand it over to Old School TV Monday?
I guess shout out to this guy for making the playoffs. I mean,
yay!
I mean,
call me crazy, Lakina, but it's been. I know it's not the same team that it was last year or a couple years ago when they won the title, but this has been one of the most quietest seasons for the Chicago Sky that in recent memory. I know they're now ex-head coach Mr. Wade. James Wade left to take an assistant coaching job with the NBA's Toronto Raptors, but outside of that, it's been very quiet.
I think because no one really thought they were this like the 5th straight trip to the playoffs. I think so. I don't think no one thought, especially with all the deflections, and of course Wade leaving in the middle of the season to take an NBA coaching job. I know Claire Copper. I know she felt that they had a lot to prove. So I would be surprised if this guy run out of gas. I think they have to play the Liberty I believe. Wait, I think. Oh no, they played the Aces in the last. I know. Candace Parker is still out right now with that heel injury, so that might. But yeah, I think the Aces are on a mission. They're still pretty good even without her. But I would be surprised if the Sky get their butts kicked. I'm sorry, but yeah, I think they're going to run out of gas mentally. I think they want to. I think Copper and the rest of the team wanted to prove that hey, we didn't need Vandersloot and Parker and James Wade. I think that was more like a prove it to them. So
yeah,
I would be surprised if they lose pretty easily in the first round of the playoffs. I just don't see them going far. But I don't prove me wrong, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. So, like I said, we room for the Sky, but it's going to be a tough road for them if they get into the playoffs. You're listening to Sports Zone Chicago, Second City Sports. Sid Lakina here with you. We're live in the Living Color of Sports Zone Chicago. All right, Lakina, as we always do around this time, we end our Monday shows with a good bang. And today, for Old School TV Monday, it is obvious, Lakina, I had to do it. We will celebrate the anniversary of America's #1 football pregame show, Fox NFL Sunday.
I should know you were going to do that. I should have known that.
Fox NFL Sunday debuted on September 4th, 1994, 30 years ago, when Fox inaugurated its NFL game broadcast through the network's recently acquired broadcast rights to the National Football Conference, the NFC. It was originally hosted by James Brown, Terry Bradshaw, Howie Long, and Jimmy Johnson. The program was notable for being the first hour-long NFL pregame show on a broadcast television network. The network pregame programs that existed beforehand, such as the Old School NFL Today on CBS and NBC's NFL Live, aired 30-minute broadcast. The Fox's show also adapted a looser, more irrelevant approach to its predecessors in order to appeal to the network's more younger audience. Fox NFL Sunday was also the first network to air pregame program to originate from Los Angeles, where CBS and NBC aired from New York City. And also, Fox NFL Sunday was the first pregame show to do pregame shows traveling on the road, like some of these cities like they went to in 1997 alone. They went to Washington, D.C. in week 3, week 4 of the 97 season, Minnesota and Green Bay. Week 6 in 97, Tampa and Green Bay. I remember that one vividly. 1997 at cold Lambeau Field, Dallas and Green Bay. Of course, that was toward the end of that Dallas run, and for Green Bay too, a couple years later. And of course, the first playoff pregame show from the road, it was on January 4th, 1998, during the 1997 divisional playoffs between Green Bay and Tampa Bay.
Yeah, they kind of like changed how everyone else did their pregame shows. Once CBS got football back in '98, they started having their NFL Today an hour. Then they started traveling to some of the big games too, and then they started going remote to some of the other games and stuff like that because they kind of fit off each other from that. So look, I mean, Fox NFL Sunday has definitely been. Of course, you got Frank Caliendo. Then I think Rob Riggle did it for a little bit. To kind of mix up with
Jimmy Kimmel got his start from there.
Yeah, he did it for like the first first 6 or 7 for like 5 or 4 or 5 years.
He got on in the year 2000. Did it for about like 3 or 4 years before he started his late night show. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that sounds about right. So I mean, and look, I mean, they kind of help sort of like pave the way for a lot of these other ones. Of course, NFL Countdown, which is like 3 hours, I guess. NFL Network's Game Day Sunday. There's like 3 or 4 hours, 7 or 8 hours if you count the earlier ones. But I mean, they definitely they changed how networks did their pregame shows. Now you wonder, Howie Long still looks good. He's aged very well. Michael Stransby became a staple on that show. Jimmy Johnson still looks great. He's got to be he's in his mid-70s now. Mm-hmm. Terry Bradshaw, I mean, no shade, loving the pieces, but I'm wondering could this be it for him in these next couple of years? But look, I mean, Kurt Menefee, seamlessly, once James Brown went back to CBS to do the NFL Today, Kurt Menefee came in. He was doing games for Fox for a few years. When Fox originally had it, first started having football, came in. He's been doing this. I think like 20. This his 23rd year doing, or 20, it might be even less than that. I might be off on that one, but yeah, I mean, that definitely helped. And some great moments, like you said. I mean, on the field stuff. A lot of shows weren't doing that yet, and some of the other stuff too. Like you said, the picks and whatnot. So yeah, it was actually they definitely paved the way for a lot of the other pregame shows.
Yeah, and don't forget when Jimmy Johnson left to head coach the Miami Dolphins in 1996, they had Ronnie Lott for 2 years, and then of course they brought over Chris Collinsworth. Was NBC lost his contract to air Sunday afternoon games because they were losing money at the time. So Chris Collinsworth held that seat down for years before he was joined with Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. Of course, that's when it brought Jimmy Johnson back in 2002, I believe. And of course, like you said, when James Brown went back to CBS, they had Joe Buck hosting those on-the-road pregame shows. And they had him do everything that year. And, of course, Kurt Menefee picked up the slack. He's still doing a great job. Of course, Michael Strahan joined that show in 2008 following the Super Bowl win for the New York Giants over New England Patriots. He retired, so he's still there to this day. I know times have changed and things have changed, but I don't know if you caught the pregame show yesterday, Lakina. I did watch the first block of it. Shout out to Anthony Anderson who opened up the show. But me personally, maybe they'll do this as the season goes along. But I hope they have some flashback clips of the first few years of Fox NFL Sunday, because that was fun. Because when they opened up when you saw the opening and you heard that music, they had that blimp coming out, and then it had those comedic opens. I love those. I wish for 1 week this year Fox Sports will do an old school Fox NFL Sunday open with those comedic opens. I love those. Those must see TV.
Yeah, hopefully they'll do that. I mean, they got the whole season to do it, so this is their 30th year. So I'm hoping.
I wish they did it yesterday, but they didn't.
Yeah, I'm sure they're going to do like a little, maybe a special, a 30-year special about Fox NFL Sunday. I'm sure they'll do that. I'm surprised they didn't do that before the pregame show. I know, because especially during the earlier pregame show prior to Clarissa Thompson and the gang there. But yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, if they do that. I mean, like it's their 30th year. They definitely, like I said, broke the mold for a pregame show. So I don't know. I mean, I'm hoping that they do that.
Yeah, and also too, Fox became the first network to have an overlay scoreboard constant on the screen. You notice all these networks are doing it now, but Fox was the first TV network to do that once they got the NFL in 1994. And just some of the announcers that had long careers over there, Lakina. Remember Joe Buck? And for those of you in Chicago may have remembered this. Joe Buck did football on Fox before he did baseball. Of course, Fox got baseball in 1996. You know what I believe Joe Buck's first game was?
Oh shoot! I just saw it on YouTube. I forgot. Darn it! I just saw it on YouTube. Damn it! Because they were doing like a. Just go ahead, because maybe I want to figure it out.
Okay, but if you're in Chicago, you remember this. It was supposed to have been a doubleheader day for Fox. The national game was Philadelphia at the Giants, followed by Dallas at Pittsburgh. Remember, the NFL blackout rules were real strict back then. So the Bears played the Buccaneers in Soldier Field that day. And, of course, us in Chicago didn't get the doubleheader. I was so pissed. But
me too.
Anyway, if you remember, I remember this indefinitely. Remember, once the pregame show went off the air here in Chicago, guess what game they started off with first for the first 5-7 minutes? Philadelphia and the Giants. And then after it turned 12 o'clock, whoever got in trouble flipped that switch to the Bears-Buccaneers game.
I think I remember that. Yeah, and thankfully they're not. Thankfully they live those blackout rules. They realize that hey, some of us actually may want to watch 2 games or 3 or 4 games. So yeah, I'm glad they got rid of the blackout rules. Thank goodness.
I hated those back. Ooh.
We could have watched. I wanted to watch those Giants 49ers games.
Yes.
NFC East.
Yes, and those Cowboys games too.
Yes, Cowboys and 49ers. We lost out on watching that dynasty because we could have watched the second games because we had the Bears game would be out at noon and they would suck for the most part. So and we could have watched.
Or they were on NBC and now they were on NBC at noon or at 3 o'clock, so you couldn't get the other game. It was crazy back then. Yeah.
Yeah,
plus, for our younger listeners and viewers, there was no NFL in the red zone. There was no internet, so you had to watch the TV. You had to read the newspaper.
No streaming. Yep.
There was no streaming back then.
Yeah, so you had to actually watch the game that had on. Thankfully, streaming and thankfully let those blackout rules. So thankfully, whoever thought that was a good idea to lift those blackout rules, God bless you. Hopefully, you got it right.
And shout out to Kenny Albert, who calls just about everything for Fox. This is his 30th straight year with the company as well. I don't know if you saw his post on Twitter last week. His first game notes he put out there. It was the Arizona LA Rams game that he called with Ron Pitts. And I think that game's up on YouTube now too in its entirety.
It is. I saw.
And don't forget, that was
the
last year of the Rams in the Raiders in Los Angeles.
Yeah, the original LA Rams in the original.
Yes, yes.
Just confuse yourself there, but yeah. I think he was only in his early 30s when he first did games, and I'm sure he got a lot of flack. Of course, Marv Albert's son, yada yada yada. But he's more. Look, he has a very good resume of stuff. Doing NFL, doing NHL. So he's been doing NHL for years too. So so he's got a good catalog of stuff in his resume. So give Kenny Albert his kudos.
And also, too, he doesn't fill in work for the New York Knicks on MSG. And he's been doing that for the last decade or so. I know he hasn't called any national games for the NBA, but he does it locally for the Knicks. And he fills in for Mike Breen from time to time.
Yeah, whatever Breen does. There's an ESPN game. I know he feels that he chips in for him. So give him his kudos, folks. Yeah, he's got a nice little catalog resume for like 35 years worth of stuff. So my goodness.
Yeah.
we're getting old. Good grief. But so we salute Fox NFL Sunday for Old School TV Monday.
All right, Lakina, take us home.
Oh, I thought you were good. I want you to do first. Okay. You can follow by Keena McGee on the Twitter, X at Keena McGee on the IG.
You can follow yours truly, Sydney Brown, on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80, that's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80. Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Make sure you follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Please subscribe to our podcast at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And while you're at it, please give War Media a follow at WARR Media on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
Yes, if you didn't hit that like button on the way in, make sure you hit that like button on the way out, whether you're watching us live and or on the replay. I'm seeing that we've been getting a few more likes here recently with our episodes, so please keep the support coming. And with that being said, you can catch Second City Sports live in the 11 color every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time right here on Sports Zone Chicago. One more again, as the kids would say. Catch Second City Sports live in the 11 color every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
And of course, just want to say this. I'll go to our girl Christine's probably going to be watching this later on. She and I are actually going to be back a game against you, Sid. You won 7 games. We only won 6. Thanks a lot, Chargers.
I need the Jets to win tonight.
Yeah. Well, look, we all picked the Jets. I'll say yeah, because if the Jets win, you go up 2 games. If the Bills win, we tied. The 3 of us are going to be tied, going in. So chill like that. So I can't. I double look. The Giants and Cowboys game was a blowout. So I actually had time to do this. So but enjoy all the games. I know the WNBA I think starts Wednesday. Their playoffs start Wednesday. But also the baseball, they're gonna be finishing up their season. So hopefully the Cubs can get it going here. Okay, for Sid, I'm Kansas with Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago, and we'll see you Friday.
Go Bears! Holla!
Yeah, let's hope.